The conference room is a glass cage suspended 30 floors above the city. Inside, the air is thick with the scent of expensive leather and simmering arrogance. Alastair Finch sits at the head of the polished obsidian table, a monument to his own success. He is a man built from leveraged buyouts and contempt, his suit a sheath of dark grey wool pulled taut over a frame softened by expensive scotch and rare steaks. His face is a fleshy mask of entitlement, ruddy from high blood pressure and the constant, low-grade fury of a man who believes the world is his personal property. He drums his manicured fingers on the table, the rhythmic thump-thump-thump a metronome counting down the seconds of his impatience. He is not a client. He is a king holding court. And this firm, Vance and Sterling, is merely the latest province to be conquered. Across from him, a young lawyer named Liam trembles. Liam is fresh from law school, his suit still smelling of the department store rack, his face pale with the terror of a minnow facing a shark. He shuffles his papers, the rustling sound an offense to the tomb-like silence Finch commands. Well. Finch's voice is a low growl, the sound of gravel grinding in a cement mixer. Are we going to sit here all day, son, or are you going to tell me how you plan to make me even richer? Liam swallows hard. Mr. Finch, as I was explaining, the zoning variances for the Elysian Tower project are complex. There's significant community pushback. Finch lets out a short, barking laugh that is utterly devoid of humor. Community pushback. You mean a bunch of broke malcontents in shacks who don't want progress? I'm not paying this firm $700 an hour for you to tell me about pushback. He gestures dismissively with a thick hand, a gold signet ring flashing under the recessed lighting. In the corner of the room, near the floor-to-ceiling windows, a woman sits with a laptop. She is silent. Still. Her name is Zara. To Alastair Finch, she is part of the furniture. A decorative accessory. An assistant or a paralegal, perhaps, brought in to take notes he assumed she can barely comprehend. She wears a simple, dark blue dress, professional but understated. Her hair is styled in neat, elegant locks that fall just past her shoulders. Her face is calm, her expression unreadable as her fingers move silently, gracefully, across her keyboard. She does not look up. She simply types. Finch's gaze sweeps over her for a fraction of a second, a flicker of dismissal in his eyes. He registers her skin color, her gender, and his brain, a finely tuned machine of prejudice, files her away under the category of irrelevant. He turns his full, predatory attention back to Liam. I bought that land. I have the city council in my pocket. I want those slums leveled by Christmas. Is that understood? Liam flinches. The people in the Riverbend district have lived there for generations, sir. Their lawyers are filing for a historical preservation injunction. Lawyers. Finch scoffs, leaning back in his chair. The leather groans in protest. What lawyers? Some pro bono ambulance chaser working out of a strip mall. We are Vance and Sterling. We crush people like that before breakfast. That's what I'm paying for. Crushing. He says the word with a deep, guttural satisfaction, as if tasting a fine wine. Zara's fingers pause on the keyboard for a single, imperceptible beat. Then they resume their silent dance. Liam looks helplessly at his notes. He is drowning. Their lead counsel has a reputation. They're arguing that the city's environmental impact report was falsified, that your development would poison the local watershed. Poison the watershed. Finch booms, his voice bouncing off the glass walls. I'm building luxury condos, not a chemical plant. This is boilerplate nonsense. Delay tactics. I want you to file a countersuit. Sue them for malicious prosecution. Sue their lawyers. Sue their grandmothers. Bury them in paperwork until they can't afford to buy toilet paper, let alone a legal defense. His eyes are alight with a cruel fire. This is the part of the business he truly loves. The destruction. The absolute domination. We need to be careful, sir, Liam stammers. If they can prove fraud on the impact report, then you make sure they can't prove it. Finch slams his hand on the table. The sharp crack makes Liam jump. Zara doesn't even flinch. You bury the evidence. You file 1,000 motions. You do what lawyers do. Are you incompetent, son? The question hangs in the air, a poisoned dart. Liam's face flushes a deep, painful red. He feels the weight of his inexperience, the crushing pressure of this monstrous client. He had been so proud to land this account, to be trusted with the firm's new marquee client. Now he just feels like a sacrifice. No, sir. Of course not, Mr. Finch. Then act like it. I want a strategy. I want a war plan. And I want it by the end of the day. Finch leans forward, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Let me be clear. I don't care about their community. I don't care about their history. I care about my return on investment. Those people are an obstacle. You are my bulldozer. Now, start bulldozing. He looks from Liam's terrified face toward the corner of the room again. His eyes narrow as he focuses on Zara. And what is she doing here, he asks, his tone dripping with disdain. He doesn't look at her, but at Liam, as if she isn't even a person capable of answering for herself. Liam glances nervously at Zara. That's Zara. She's assisting with the case file. Taking notes for the partners. Finch grunts. Is she a lawyer? She's, on the legal team, yes, Liam says, choosing his words carefully. Finch gives another humorless chuckle. Right. Well, when I'm discussing sensitive strategy, I prefer it to be with the actual attorneys. Not the diversity hire brought in to fill a quota. The words are a slap. The air in the room chills by 20 degrees. Liam freezes, his mouth opening and closing with no sound coming out. He knows he should say something. Defend his colleague. Uphold the firm's dignity. But the words are stuck in his throat, choked by fear. Fear of this client. Fear of losing his job. Zara's fingers stop typing. Slowly, deliberately, she raises her head. For the first time, she looks directly at Alistair Finch. Her eyes are not angry. They are not hurt. They are calm, analytical, and as cold and clear as the glass wall behind her. It is the gaze of a scientist observing a specimen under a microscope. A specimen she finds deeply, profoundly uninteresting. Finch feels a strange, unfamiliar prickle of discomfort under that gaze. He is used to being feared, respected, or at the very least, hated. He is not used to being assessed. He scoffs to cover his unease. Something you want to say, sweetheart. Zara's expression does not change. She gives a small, almost imperceptible shake of her head. Then she lowers her eyes and her fingers resume their work. The dismissal is more profound than any outburst could ever be. It infuriates him. The power dynamic in the room, which he had so carefully constructed, has been momentarily disturbed. He needs to reassert it. Brutally. You know what, Finch says, turning his full attention back to Liam, his voice now dangerously soft. I'm not comfortable. I don't like her attitude. I want her out of here. Liam's blood runs cold. Mr. Finch, I assure you, Zara is one of our most capable. I don't care if she's the second coming of Johnny Cochran, Finch snaps, cutting him off. I am the client. I am paying this firm a fortune. And I will not have my strategy meetings with that. Sitting in the corner, judging me. He points a sausage-like finger at Zara. Get her out. Now. And send in someone else. Someone more appropriate. The implication is ugly, naked, and undeniable. Someone white. Someone male. This is the line. The one that cannot be uncrossed. Liam is paralyzed. He looks from Finch's sneering, triumphant face to Zara's calm, impassive one. He is trapped between a monster and a mystery. The entire firm, his entire career, feels like it's balancing on the head of a pin. He opens his mouth to speak, to try and salvage the situation, but no words come out. He is utterly, hopelessly out of his depth. The silence stretches, thick and suffocating. Finch smirks, enjoying the young lawyer's panic. He has won. He always wins. He is about to make another demand, to twist the knife a little deeper, when a sound cuts through the tension. It's not loud. It's the quiet, precise click of a laptop being closed. Zara stands up. She moves with a fluid grace that seems to mock the brutish, heavy presence of Alastair Finch. She walks not to the door, but to the head of the table, stopping beside Liam's chair. She places a reassuring hand on his shoulder for a brief moment. He can feel a strange sense of calm emanating from her touch. Then she turns her body to face Alastair Finch directly. She is not intimidated. She is not afraid. She looks bored. "Mr. Finch," she says. Her voice is not what he expected. It is not loud, but it fills the room completely. It is a voice accustomed to command, layered with a cool intelligence and an edge of tempered steel. "I believe there has been a misunderstanding." Finch's smirk falters. He doesn't like her tone. He doesn't like her standing there, addressing him as an equal. "There's no misunderstanding," he sneers. "I gave an order. I want you to leave. Your boss here," he gestures at the terrified Liam, seems to be having trouble understanding that. Zara allows a small, thin smile to touch her lips. It does not reach her eyes. "That's the misunderstanding, Mr. Finch," she says, her voice smooth as silk. "He is not my boss." She pauses, letting the words hang in the air. "I am his." The world seems to tilt on its axis. Liam stares up at her, his eyes wide with a dawning, incredulous realization. Alastair Finch's face goes blank. The arrogant smirk is wiped away, replaced by a look of pure, unadulterated confusion. His brain, so quick to categorize and dismiss, struggles to process this new, impossible piece of information. "You're..." "What?" he stammers, the sound foreign and weak in his own ears. Zara tilts her head slightly. "Liam, would you be so kind as to fetch me the Elysian Tower prospectus? The one from my office." Liam, still stunned, just nods dumbly and scrambles out of his chair, nearly tripping as he flees the room, grateful for the escape. Now it is just the two of them. The predator and the woman he had mistaken for prey. Zara pulls out the chair Liam just vacated and sits down at the table, directly opposite Finch. The vast expanse of polished obsidian lies between them like a battlefield. She folds her hands neatly on the table. "Let's start over," she says, her voice still impossibly calm. "My name is Zara Vance." She lets her surname hang in the air for a moment. "Vance. As in Vance and Sterling." Finch's face, already ruddy, begins to drain of all color. The blood retreats, leaving behind a pasty, grayish pallor. He looks like a man who has just been told his billion-dollar fortune is counterfeit. "Vance," he whispers, the word catching in his throat. "The Vance," she confirms, a glint of something sharp and dangerous in her eyes. "I am the managing partner and majority owner of this firm. My name is on the letterhead. My money built this office. This table you're pounding on. I picked it out. The view you're enjoying. I pay for it. And Liam, the young man you've spent the last hour terrorizing, works for me." Every word is a hammer blow, systematically dismantling the foundation of Finch's arrogance. He is no longer a king in a conquered province. He is a guest in her home. A guest who has just tracked mud all over the white carpet. "Now," she continues, leaning forward slightly, her voice dropping, becoming more intimate, more menacing. "You have a problem with my attitude. You're uncomfortable with my presence. You want someone else. Someone more appropriate." She repeats his own ugly words back to him, each one coated in ice. "Please, Mr. Finch. Elaborate. Tell me exactly what a more appropriate attorney looks like. Describe them to me in detail. I'm very interested in your hiring criteria." Finch is speechless. His mind is a maelstrom of panic and disbelief. This cannot be happening. This woman, this person he had dismissed so easily, holds his entire multi-billion-dollar project in her hands. He had not just insulted a junior employee. He had just declared war on the general. He tries to recover, to fall back on his usual tactics of bluster and intimidation. Now, hold on a minute. This is just a misunderstanding. A simple mistake. "No," Zara says, her voice cutting through his feeble attempt like a scalpel. "It was not a misunderstanding. It was a moment of absolute clarity. You showed me exactly who you are, Alastair. May I call you Alastair?" I feel we know each other so much better now. The use of his first name is a violation. It strips him of his title, of his armor of corporate power. It makes him feel small. You walked into my firm, she continues, her voice a low, steady cadence of condemnation, and you assumed. You assumed a young, white man, despite his obvious inexperience, must be in charge. And you assumed that I, a black woman, must be his subordinate. You didn't ask. You didn't consider any other possibility. Your prejudice is so ingrained, so automatic, that it functions as your operating system. It's not a bug, Alistair. It's a feature. He opens his mouth to protest, to deny, but she holds up a hand, and the gesture has such authority that he falls silent. You then proceeded to bully my associate, advocating for a legal strategy that borders on obstruction of justice and witness tampering. You spoke of destroying a community as if you were ordering lunch. You admitted, in what you believed to be a privileged conversation, that your only concern was your return on investment, not the law, not the environment, and certainly not the people whose lives you intend to ruin. Her eyes lock onto his. And all the while, I was taking notes. Very, very detailed notes. She taps her closed laptop. It's all in here. Every word. Every threat. Every casual admission of bad faith. The color has completely drained from Finch's face now. A fine sheen of sweat breaks out on his forehead. The glass cage of the conference room suddenly feels like a pressure cooker. The air is thin. He can't seem to draw a full breath. That's attorney-client privilege, he sputters, a pathetic attempt to grasp at the legal straws he himself had been so willing to discard. Zara's thin smile returns. It's a predator's smile. Is it? Privilege requires a relationship of trust and confidence. It's a shield for the client, not a sword for the bully. And more importantly, Alistair, privilege does not apply when a client is actively using legal services to perpetrate a crime or fraud. She lets that hang in the air. Crime. Fraud. The words echo in the silent room. Liam returns, holding a thick, bound document. He stops short in the doorway, sensing the cataclysmic shift in the room's atmosphere. He looks at Zara, who now sits in the seat of power, and at Finch, who looks like a condemned man. Thank you, Liam, Zara says, not taking her eyes off Finch. Please, have a seat. The meeting is just getting started. Liam tentatively sits, placing the prospectus on the table. Zara slides it in front of her. The Elysian Tower project, she says conversationally. An ambitious undertaking. 200 luxury units, a private marina, a rooftop helipad. And all built on the ashes of the Riverbend district. She opens the document. You see, Alistair, when you applied to retain our services, I did my due diligence. I do it for every potential client, but I was particularly thorough with you. Your reputation precedes you. She flips through a few pages. I read your falsified environmental impact report. Very creative. I especially like the part about the negligible effect on the nesting grounds of the local heron population. Bold, considering your own contracted surveyors flagged it as a protected habitat. Finch's jaw tightens. That's a lie. Is it? Zara asks sweetly. Because I have a copy of their original, unedited report. A disgruntled former employee of yours was more than happy to provide it. Along with some very interesting emails from your project manager, instructing the surveyors to adjust the findings to meet project goals. She slides a thin file folder across the table. It stops directly in front of Finch. He stares at it as if it's a venomous snake. That's discovery, Alistair. It's the first exhibit in the fraud case I'll be recommending the Riverbend community files against you. Personally. Finch recoils as if struck. You can't do that. You're my lawyer. Am I? Zara's voice is laced with acid. Did I sign an engagement letter? Did I accept your retainer? No. Because after my due diligence, I decided this firm would not be representing you. I instructed Liam to set up this meeting specifically so I could decline your business in person. Liam's eyes widen in comprehension. He wasn't being sacrificed. He was the bait. But I never got the chance to tell you, Zara continues, her voice a relentless, punishing rhythm. Because you were too busy being a racist, arrogant pig to let me get a word in. You were so certain of your own power, so dismissive of mine, that you sat here and confessed your entire criminal enterprise to the one person in the city you should have feared the most. She stands up and walks to the window, looking out over the sprawling city below. The Riverbend district, a small patch of green and historic low-rise buildings, is visible near the curve of the river. You see that neighborhood down there, Alistair? You see houses. I see homes. You see an obstacle. I see my grandmother's church. I see the bakery my aunt used to take me to. I see the community center where I learned to read. She turns back to face him, her eyes blazing with a righteous fire that seems to consume all the oxygen in the room. You didn't just walk into the wrong law firm today, you son of a bitch. You declared war on my home. The carefully constructed world of Alistair Finch shatters into a million pieces. The bravado, the arrogance, the sheer force of will that had carried him through a lifetime of bullying and intimidation, all of it evaporates, leaving behind a pathetic, sweating, terrified man. You're representing them, he whispers, the horror of his situation finally dawning on him. Pro bono, Zara says with a savage smile. Every resource of Vance and Sterling, my personal fortune, all of it is now dedicated to a single purpose, your complete and utter destruction. She walks back to the table and picks up the phone. She presses a single button. Sandra, she says into the receiver, her voice calm and clear. Please cancel the rest of my appointments for the day. And then get me the Attorney General on his private line. Tell him Zara Vance has a gift for him. She hangs up the phone. The click echoes in the silence like a gunshot. Alistair Finch, the king, the titan of industry, just sits there, broken, in a glass cage 30 floors above a city that no longer belongs to him. He is no longer a monument to success. He is a ruin. Finch's breathing becomes ragged, shallow. He looks around the room, at the impassive glass walls, at the terrified face of the junior associate, and at the woman who has just systematically dismantled his life in under 10 minutes. His mind, a frantic rat in a maze, searches for an exit, an angle, a way to regain control. This is unethical, he manages to rasp, the words weak and unconvincing even to himself. You lured me in here under false pretenses. You entrapped me. Zara lets out a short, sharp laugh. It is the first genuine sound of amusement she has made, and it is terrifying. Entrapment. Alistair, I didn't ask you to confess to fraud. I didn't tell you to advocate for obstruction of justice. And I certainly didn't instruct you to be a vile, prejudiced cretin to my face. That was all you. A pure, unadulterated expression of your character. All I did was give you enough rope. You were the one who so enthusiastically fashioned the noose and slipped it around your own neck. She gestures to the folder in front of him. Open it. He stares at it, paralyzed. Go on, she urges, her voice soft but insistent. I want you to see the craftsmanship. With a trembling hand, Finch reaches out and opens the folder. Inside are not just copies of the surveyor emails. There are bank statements. Offshore wire transfers. A detailed timeline linking payments from a shell corporation he controls directly to the personal accounts of 2 key city council members who sponsored his zoning variants. It's a perfect, airtight case for bribery and public corruption. He looks up at her, his eyes wide with sheer terror. How? How did you get this? You seem to be under the impression that I'm just a lawyer, Zara says, walking slowly around the table toward him. Her heels click softly on the polished floor, each step a nail in his coffin. I am, and I'm a very good one. But Vance and Sterling is more than a law firm. We have a forensic accounting department that can find a penny buried in the Cayman Islands. We have an investigations team staffed by former federal agents who can get a confession from a stone. She stops directly behind his chair, forcing him to crane his neck to look up at her. The power dynamic is now a physical reality. He is small, seated, and trapped. She is tall, standing, and in complete command. When a man with your reputation for aggressive business practices wants to tear down a place I care about, I don't just prepare a legal defense, Alistair. I prepare for war. I've been investigating you for 6 months. I know where you park your car, what brand of scotch you drink, and how much you paid Councilman Miller's son for his consulting services on a project he knows nothing about. Finch makes a choking sound, a strangled gasp for air. So, you see, Zara continues, her voice a low murmur directly into his ear, this meeting was never about whether I would take your case. It was about where and when I would end you. You chose here. And you chose now. You should be grateful, really. I've given you a front row seat to your own execution. The intercom on the conference phone buzzes softly. Yes, Sandra. Zara says without moving. Attorney General Jacobs on line 1 for you, Ms. Vance. Thank you. Patch him through. Zara walks back to the phone and picks up the receiver. Mark, hello. It's Zara. I'm well, thank you. Listen, I'm sorry to call you directly, but something has just landed on my desk that I think you'll find very interesting. Yes, it concerns the Elysian Tower project. I'm sitting with the developer, Alastair Finch, right now, as a matter of fact. She pauses, listening, and a cruel, satisfied smile plays on her lips. She looks directly at Finch, whose face has turned the color of ash. Oh, he's being very cooperative, she says into the phone. He's just shared some fascinating documents with me. Looks like bribery, wire fraud, conspiracy. A real smorgasbord of federal offenses. I think the U.S. Attorney's Office will want to see this immediately. Yes, I'll have the file messengered over within the hour. Wonderful. Talk to you soon, Mark. She hangs up. The finality of the act is absolute. Alastair Finch is no longer just a man facing a civil suit. He is the target of a federal investigation. His life, as he knows it, is over. He finally breaks. The arrogant facade crumbles, the carefully constructed persona of a corporate titan disintegrates, revealing the whimpering, pathetic creature beneath. Please, he begs, his voice cracking. Don't do this. There has to be another way. Name your price. Any price. I'll double it. I'll walk away from the project. I'll donate to any charity you want. Just. Please. Call him back. It is the desperate plea of a man who has always believed that everything and everyone can be bought. Zara looks at him with an expression of profound disgust. You still don't get it, do you? She says, her voice laced with pity and contempt. You think this is about money? You think you can write a check and make this go away? You spent your whole life believing your wealth made you untouchable, that it insulated you from consequences. She leans down, placing her hands on the table, her face just inches from his. You are standing in a $300 million law firm that I built from the ground up. I am one of the most successful litigators in this country. I have more money than you could spend in 10 lifetimes. Your money means nothing to me. Your pleas mean nothing to me. She straightens up. What matters to me is justice. What matters is that men like you, men who think their power and privilege give them the right to crush anyone who gets in their way, are held accountable. You didn't just threaten a neighborhood, Alastair. You threatened an idea. The idea that everyone deserves a home, that history matters, that the law is supposed to protect the weak from the strong, not the other way around. Her voice rises, filled with a passion that is both terrifying and righteous. You are the disease, Alastair. You and men like you. The rot that eats away at the heart of our society. And I am the cure. The door to the conference room opens. 2 men in dark suits enter. They are large, impassive, and move with an economy of motion that speaks of years of training. They are the firm's head of security, both former Secret Service. They flank Finch's chair. Alastair Finch, Zara says, her voice returning to a cool, professional tone. Your preliminary meeting with Vance and Sterling is now concluded. My colleagues will show you out. Finch looks at the 2 security men, then back at Zara. The last vestiges of hope die in his eyes. You can't do this, he whispers, a final, futile act of defiance. One of the security men places a firm hand on his shoulder. Sir, please stand up. The touch is not violent, but it is immovable. It is the physical manifestation of his new reality. He has no power here. He is forced to his feet. His expensive suit is wrinkled, his face is slick with sweat, his eyes are wide with panic. The king is being dethroned. As they escort him toward the door, he turns for a last, desperate appeal to Zara. You'll regret this. I have friends. Powerful friends. I'll ruin you. I'll destroy this firm. His threats are hollow, the pathetic death rattle of a dying empire. Zara simply watches him, her expression unreadable. As he reaches the door, she speaks one last time. By the way, Alistair, she says, her voice casual, almost an afterthought. The board of directors of your company, Finch Consolidated, has called an emergency meeting for this afternoon. They received an anonymous tip, along with a rather comprehensive file of your extracurricular financial activities. Finch freezes, his hand on the doorframe. I believe the first item on their agenda, Zara continues with a chilling smile, is a vote of no confidence in your leadership. I hear the golf course is hiring caddies. You might want to update your resume. The security guards pull him from the room. The door clicks shut, leaving Zara and Liam alone in the sudden, deafening silence. Liam sits there, completely stunned, staring at the empty chair where a titan of industry had just been comprehensively annihilated. He feels like he's just witnessed a hurricane pass through the room. He looks at Zara, who is calmly straightening the papers on the table, her composure absolute. Ms. Vance, he begins, his voice barely a whisper. I don't know what to say. Zara looks at him, and for the first time, the icy mask of the avenging warrior melts away, replaced by the warm, reassuring expression of a mentor. You did well, Liam, she says. You stood your ground as best you could. That's all I asked. But I froze, he says, ashamed. When he said those things to you. I just froze. He's a predator, Liam. Predators are experts at paralyzing their prey, she says gently. What matters is what you do after the fear subsides. You learn. You get stronger. And the next time you face a monster like that, you'll be ready. She picks up the thick Elysian Tower prospectus and drops it into the recycling bin with a satisfying thud. Now, she says, a new energy in her voice. Let's get to work. We have a community to save. The fallout is not a storm. It is a biblical flood. It sweeps through the life of Alistair Finch, washing away every pillar of his existence until nothing remains but mud and debris. The emergency board meeting at Finch Consolidated is a bloodbath. Armed with Zara's meticulously prepared dossier, the board members, sharks smelling blood in the water, turn on their leader with savage efficiency. They are not acting out of morality, but out of self-preservation. Finch is a liability, a sinking ship they are desperate to abandon. He is stripped of his title as CEO and chairman before his security escort has even managed to get him to the ground floor of the Vance and Sterling building. His golden parachute is voided due to the clauses on gross misconduct and criminal activity. His stock options are frozen. He is locked out of his office, his email, his life's work, in the space of a single afternoon. By the next morning, his face is on the front page of every major newspaper. The headlines are brutal. Finch Tower of Greed collapses, CEO accused of bribery, fraud, developer's empire crumbles amid corruption scandal. The story is irresistible. A tale of hubris and downfall, made all the more delicious by the leak of his racist and dismissive comments about Zara Vance. She is instantly mythologized by the press, the brilliant, underestimated black woman who single-handedly brought down a corrupt titan. Vance and Sterling is inundated with calls from potential clients, all wanting the Finch treatment for their own corporate adversaries. The U.S. Attorney's Office moves with astonishing speed. Fueled by the undeniable evidence Zara provided and the intense public pressure, they indict Finch and the 2 city council members within a week. Their assets are frozen. Their passports are confiscated. Finch, a man who once flew to Paris for dinner on a whim, is now a flight risk, unable to leave the state. His powerful friends, the ones he threatened Zara with, evaporate like mist in the morning sun. Senators stop returning his calls. Business partners issue press releases distancing themselves from him. The sycophants who once laughed at his jokes now cross the street to avoid him. In the world of power, proximity to failure is a contagion. His wife of 30 years, a woman who had built her social standing on his wealth, files for divorce, her lawyers moving swiftly to protect her assets from the coming legal tsunami. She cites irreconcilable differences, a bland legal term for the fact that he is no longer rich or powerful. The civil suit filed by the Riverbend community, with Zara Vance as lead counsel, is a masterpiece of legal warfare. With Finch's own admissions and the fraudulent documents as evidence, they win a summary judgment. The court not only kills the Elysian Tower project permanently but also awards the community association punitive damages of a magnitude that stuns the legal world. Finch's remaining personal assets, his mansions, his yacht, his art collection, are seized to pay the judgment. He is forced to sell everything. He moves from his penthouse overlooking the park to a small, rented apartment in a faceless suburb, the kind of place he would have once bulldozed without a second thought. The irony is lost on him, drowned out by his all-consuming self-pity. His criminal trial is short and brutal. The evidence is overwhelming. The two council members, faced with long prison sentences, turn state's evidence, testifying against him in exchange for lighter sentences. They paint a picture of a man driven by insatiable greed and a belief that he was above the law. Finch's expensive defense team is ineffective against the mountain of evidence Zara had built. He is convicted on all counts: bribery, wire fraud, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice. The judge, an old-school jurist with no patience for white-collar criminals who betray the public trust, makes an example of him. He sentences Alastair Finch to 25 years in a federal medium-security prison. No parole. The man who once commanded boardrooms is reduced to a number in a drab orange jumpsuit. The kingdom he built is gone. His name is a synonym for disgrace. His ruin is total, absolute, and meticulously complete. For the heroes, the rewards are just as profound. The Riverbend community, flush with the massive settlement from the lawsuit, is transformed. Under Zara's guidance, they form a community land trust. They use the money not just to repair their homes but to build a new community center, a legal aid clinic, and a scholarship fund for their children. The threat of gentrification is gone, replaced by a future they control. The neighborhood is declared a National Historic Landmark, protecting it for generations to come. They name the new community park the Zara Vance Justice Garden. Liam, the young associate, becomes Zara's protégé. The trial by fire in that conference room forged him into a different kind of lawyer. He loses his timidity, but retains his conscience. Zara mentors him, teaches him, and he eventually becomes a brilliant litigator in his own right, specializing in public interest law within the firm. He never forgets the lesson he learned that day, that true power isn't about shouting the loudest, but about knowing the truth and having the courage to speak it. And Zara Vance becomes a legend. She uses the notoriety from the case to launch a new, nationwide initiative funded by her firm, the Justice Project, dedicated to providing elite legal representation to communities fighting corrupt developers and corporations. She becomes a powerful voice for systemic change, a symbol of hope for the underestimated and overlooked. Her firm, Vance and Sterling, becomes the most sought after in the nation, not just for its skill, but for its soul. 2 years later. The sun is setting over the city, casting a warm, golden glow on the newly restored facades of the Riverbend district. The air smells of fresh paint, blooming flowers from the new gardens, and barbecue from a neighborhood block party in full swing. Zara Vance and Liam walk down the clean, repaved street. She is no longer in a severe business dress, but in casual slacks and a comfortable sweater. Liam, now a confident senior associate, walks beside her, pointing out the new playground. An elderly woman, Mrs. Gable, the fiery matriarch of the community association, rushes out from her porch to hug Zara. "Zara, child. You have to come have a plate. My son made his famous ribs," she exclaims, her face beaming with a joy that seems to light up the whole street. "I wouldn't miss it for the world, Martha," Zara says, returning the hug warmly. They spend the next hour at the block party, surrounded by laughter, music, and the gratitude of a community that sees her not just as a lawyer, but as a savior. She is not Miss Vance, the legal titan, here. She is just Zara, the woman who saw them, who heard them, and who fought for them when no one else would. Later, as the sky deepens to purple, she and Liam sit on a bench in the new park, the Zara Vance Justice Garden, watching the fireflies begin to dance in the twilight. "It's hard to believe what this place used to look like," Liam says quietly, looking at the happy scene. The despair. The fear. And now. And now it's a home, Zara finishes for him. Safe. Strong. As it always should have been. "Do you ever think about him?" Liam asks. "Finch." Zara is silent for a moment, watching a group of children chase each other across the grass. Sometimes, she admits. I don't think about his prison cell or his lost fortune. I think about that moment in the conference room. That first moment. She turns to Liam, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of the park lights. His mistake wasn't just that he was a criminal. His fatal flaw, the one that brought him down, was his arrogance. His prejudice. He looked at me and his mind was so clouded by bigotry that he couldn't see the threat. He couldn't conceive of a world where a woman who looked like me could hold power over him. She looks out at the community she saved, her community. He didn't just underestimate me as a lawyer. He underestimated me as a person. He saw a black woman and saw a target for his contempt. He never imagined that my identity, the very thing he despised, was the source of my strength. My roots are in this neighborhood. My fight was for my people. He thought he was trying to bulldoze a few old houses. He had no idea he was actually trying to bulldoze a mountain. A cool evening breeze rustles the leaves in the trees above them. A child's happy shriek cuts through the quiet murmur of the party. It is the sound of a future that was almost stolen, now secure. The moral of the story is written on the wind, in the laughter of the children, in the quiet dignity of the restored homes. Arrogance is a cage of your own making. Prejudice is a blindness you choose. And sometimes, the person you dismiss most easily is the one holding the key to your own destruction. Justice, true justice, is not just about punishing the guilty. It is about restoring the righteous and empowering the underestimated, proving that the strongest foundations are not built of steel and glass, but of community, history, and the unbreakable will to fight for what is right.